Hello friends, Dynastic Hero is amazing. The PC engine, or TurboGrafx-16, is well known for its huge variety of shoot-'em-ups. If you are playing through the game catalog in order like I am, you can't go 2 games without playing another shmup. Outside of that, there are a few other games that are pretty fun, but a really great game on the PC engine is really rare. Dynastic Hero is a port of Wonder Boy and Monster World for the Genesis. It has an asset swap, as well as some new graphics. Because of this, it's mainly catered to the American audience on the TurboGrafx CD. It also came out later on the PC Engine CD with all the asset swaps in Japan. So why is Dynastic Hero super great? At its core, it's a fantasy hack and slash with gear upgrades. Your quest is to save a princess from the big bad evil dude while fighting off tons of minions and occasionally fighting bosses or mini-bosses. The gameplay is solid and easy to understand. It's explore and you fight. The fun gameplay loop really is learning how to deal with new mobs in new areas. For example, does this enemy shoot you with arrows? Can you block those arrows with your shield? Is there a kamikaze penguin looking to run into you? Or is there a spellcaster trying to, cast something on you? And it's up to you to kind of try and figure that out, right? And tackle each mob in its own way. The 2 primary weapon types are a sword and spear. You also get magic, which instead of having MP, you have charges per spell. You refresh the spell charges by sleeping at an inn. You also buy gear at shops or find them in chests. If you really want to over-genreify the game, you could call it a Metroidvania, but it really hones in on its hacking and slashing. It feels more like Castle Crashers with Legends of Zelda, and with Castlevania all mixed into one good game. There is also a little bit of platforming involved. This especially matters towards the end of the game where it's Mega Man levels of challenging. Here's me attempting it and failing miserably. Of course, when I go to actually record me failing miserably, I managed to do it on my literal first try of recording. It took me almost an hour to get through this and learn it, but suddenly when I want to go and record this and show a point, I do it smoothly and first try no problem. But I promise this part was extremely difficult to learn, and if you try it out, it's going to be challenging. The exploration aspect plays a really large part to Dynastic Hero's excellence. It's a somewhat open world similar to Metroid and Castlevania, where you can only progress to certain areas when you have certain items. For example, if you want to go into the desert, you need the Oasis boots. If you want to unseal a way to the Jungle Temple, you need to have an ally do that for you. While exploring, there are loads of extra rewards to find, such as heart containers, magic spells, all of which are worthwhile to seek out. And if you ever get stuck, you don't need a guide, but you can just look at a map for the area you're struggling with. I don't really like to use guides, which tell me exactly what to do, but I did use the map from time to time when I couldn't figure out where to go next, and that's kind of all I needed. I ended up missing quite a few secrets, but I did find a lot of them, so there is a bit of replayability to it, similar to how in Zelda where you can find all the heart containers and chests. However, unlike Metroid or Castlevania, it tends to help the player out after beating an area, opening a door back to the central town, which allows you to have a speedy travel port from a hub world. This makes it a bit faster to find your way through the game and easier to re-access areas you've been to. Each world and section of the game has a theme. There's jungle, ice, desert, fire, etc. It's all very charming and has the 90s game vibe to it. The sprites are just very nice and cheerful to look at. The music really matches the vibe too, which is what we've been listening to in the background. It's very catchy and really gets your adventurous spirit going. Interestingly, the original version of Dynastic Hero is a game from 1991 on the Genesis, or the Mega Drive, which I don't really want to bring in console wars to this video, but for this game, Sega definitely did what Nintendo don't, and I would argue this is one of the games that brought people to pick up a Genesis or a Mega Drive, other than, like Sonic. I mentioned using allies earlier, which adds to the charm of the game. In towns of the game, usually you gain an ally by either saving them or one of the leaders gives you an ally to use. They aren't exactly useful, but a cute little companion to follow you around. For example, this fairy tries to attack the enemy but can't do much, but it's trying, and that's kind of wholesome. She also gives you more hearts to restore your HP, and, the allies aren't exactly useless, but they're kind of more for visual flair. Adding the ally system really shows the care involved with the game. It feels like it was added in to make it special by devs that really love their job. The story is super simplistic. It's a generic hero saves the day story, but all the characters have a personality, even the minor NPCs. They all have something to say, and they each have a bit of uniqueness to them. For example, this NPC is selling an overpriced gem and makes fun of you for being a bit poor if you try to buy it. Talking to this NPC shows how the smith cares about the weapon that they made and how the hero is going to use it. The bee queen is whoa mama tier and has a bit of sexiness to her. Interestingly, if you haven't noticed, its theming is insectoid, which usually I don't like because games usually attempt to make insects gross and disgusting as enemies. But Dynastic Hero really approaches insects with a Pokemon style, where the style is friendly and nice. The main character has a blue stag beetle armor that looks a lot like Heracross. The last thing I want to mention is the difficulty. Most of the challenge comes from finding your way through the game, learning how to beat each boss, and figuring out how to reach certain places. But really, Dynastic Hero is not all difficult, really at all, except for the very end with the platforming and the in-game Death Knights that can easily kick your butt if you let them. But the bosses are fairly easy to figure out. You can learn their patterns and rotation without trying too much, and with the heart containers you can go find as extras, it really helps you out a lot. Plus you can use magic too, and some of the magic powers allows you to increase your damage, so that even helps with bosses later on. Overall, it's an easy game, but it's not boring, and I definitely want to stress that point because kind of like with Super Mario Land, you mean Super Mario World? It's commonly touted as an easy game, but it's not boring, and it's okay to have an easy game as long as it's not just, extremely rote, right? You don't want to get bored doing it. And games like this and Super Mario Land, you mean World, they just really key in on, hey, this game is for beginners. It gets a little bit hard at certain points, but it's just really, really fun to pick up and play. So with all that said, this game deserves a well-earned 4 out of 5. And although I review each game I play, and I've played tons, I rarely give a 4 out of 5 to anything. As a note, I just want to say that I never played this as a kid, or even heard about it. I have zero nostalgia for this game, and it's still overwhelmingly great. So do yourself a favor, go get RetroArch and emulate the PC Engine, or TurboGrafx-16, to play this fantastic game, because good luck buying a physical copy of it. It's currently going for over $1,000 on eBay, and there's tons of, crazy insane prices for this. Just as a note about emulation of CD games, you will need the PC Engine CD system BIOS, so you'll have to do a bit of Googling yourself to figure it out. If you can't figure it out, just leave a comment and I can steer your Google search to a correct guide. Thanks for watching.